Do you feel as if your blood sugar readings go high even though you never have anything sweet to eat or drink? Are you somebody who's diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes and you were never a sugar lover and you wonder, well, what's going on here? I don't eat anything sweet. Well, I'm going to talk about how you can be getting sugar, or better, glucose, into your bloodstream without tasting anything sweet. Before we get into it, I'm Dr. Amina, Goodwin, a physician and a health coach, and I help overweight people with blood sugar problems get those problems better without having to take more medications. All right, well, sugar, as we all know, it is that sweetener that we put into our food. Usually it comes from sugar cane or beets. There are other types of sweeteners as well, other than sugar. We have honey, we have agave nectar, and so on and so forth. But what sugar is, it's a combination of two simpler sugars. So sugar is actually sucrose, and I have my whiteboard here to help us. Sugar is actually sucrose, which is a combination of two simple sugars, one being glucose and one being fructose. Fructose we know classically as the fruit sugar, and then glucose is just the backbone of most carbohydrates, okay? And I'm going to get more into that. So sucrose, think of it as a two-car train, and you essentially have one glucose car and one fructose car, and so all your grains of sugar, all your sugar in a sugar jar would be a jar full of two train cars, okay? And one train, each of these two car trains have one glucose part and one fructose part. Now, another common sugar, double sugar. The double sugars, by the way, are called disaccharides. But anyway, another common double sugar made up of two simple sugars is actually lactose, right? Lactose, of course, is a milk sugar, and it is comprised of one glucose car, right? Just like sucrose, and one galactose car. So these are the two simple sugars that make up the milk sugar lactose. And so essentially you have multiple two-car trains in milk making up the milk sugar lactose. When you eat these things, either sucrose, right, sugar, or get lactose from milk, essentially the digestion process breaks the links between the two cars, and you have free glucose and free fructose in your bloodstream. With milk sugar, you have free glucose again and free galactose. So you can see that with both sucrose and lactose, if you have the same amounts of both, which is not going to be likely, but say for example, you have the same amounts of both gram per gram, you're going to get the very same amount of glucose from both sources, and therefore potentially your blood glucose levels will increase by the same amount of if you're taking the same amounts of lactose and sucrose into your system, right? Now, where it gets interesting is that starch. Now, a lot of people might not necessarily add sugar to their foods. Some people might not have dairy, but starch is like it's a backbone. It forms the backbone of most diets, okay? Guess what starch is? Starch is a multi-glucose car, all right, or multi-car train. So essentially, starch is like a train with multiple cars, and the cars are only glucose cars. So you don't have any fructose, you don't have any galactose or any other simple sugars. All starch is glucose all the way, okay? And so when you eat starch, what happens is that the digestion process is going to break all these little bonds, all these little links between the individual glucose cars, and you're going to have free glucose into your bloodstream. And so you're thinking, oh, well, I'm not having anything sweet. What's going on here? It's all the starch. Starch, of course, simple starch you're going to get from your bread, especially white flour bread with no fiber. You're going to get it from your white potato. You're going to get it from potato chips. These are all the things, all those white starchy things. That is what you're going to be getting, how you're going to be getting free sugar, free glucose into your bloodstream, right? Now, you might say, well, oh my goodness, like what am I supposed to eat, right? Well, in terms of starch, you can have, so these are all individual simple sugars, right? And then they can be doubled up into sucrose and lactose, right? And then you have starch. But How starch gets a little more complex is when it comes with fiber. So when it is not refined and it's closer to its natural form, right? Now vegetables also, those are starches, but they are starches that come with an enormous amount of fiber compared to other simpler starches like white potatoes and so on, right? So if you're having a complex starch coming with a lot of fiber, you can think of it as a train that is in the jungle. So the train is there amongst all the trees and shrubbery and so on, right? You have lots of fiber all over, all around those individual glucose cars. So when you eat the starch, when it goes, you ingest it, it goes in, first of all, your teeth are going to work on it to break down some of the fiber around the glucose, right? So your body's not going to get to these glucose bonds immediately. It has to work to get to them, and it has to chew and break down all the fiber, all the shrubbery from around the glucose. That starts in the mouth and then it goes into the stomach, and the enzymes, the digestive enzymes, continue to work to sort of break away, get through the fiber and get to these glucose bonds. And so gradually, slowly but surely, you're going to have the free sugar, the free glucose being released to be able to be absorbed into your bloodstream, right? Now, the more fiber you have, right, the more work your body and those enzymes have to do to get through to these links and break these links. While the body is doing that work, your intestines, everything is still moving down the intestines. So everything is not just stationary waiting. I mean, your food gets held in your stomach for an hour and a half or so, right? But as soon as it's released from the stomach, it goes into the small intestines to be absorbed, and then the absorption process is working. But while it's being absorbed, your body's getting to the individual glucose cars, it's still moving down. And oftentimes, quite a bit of it moves further down to where it can no longer be absorbed while it's still intermixed with all this fiber around all the cars. Okay, and so that is how you can continue to eat things but decrease the amount of sugar getting into your bloodstream and decrease the speed at which the sugar gets into your bloodstream, right? So to go back to how we started this video about people wondering, oh my goodness, like my sugar is high, I don't understand it, I don't eat anything sweet, right? Okay, starch in most cases, because it's going to break only into 100% sugar. And so compare two things, bread, for example, and sugar. Bread will actually carry, white flour bread specifically, pure white flour bread is going to carry your blood sugar up higher than sugar, because you're going to get 100% glucose from bread, the starch, but you're going to get 50% glucose from the sugar. So that's why, it sounds weird that, oh, this doesn't taste sweet, the bread, this does, but the bread is going to carry my blood sugar higher, right, and faster than the sugar, because bread is 100% glucose at the end of the day, and sugar is only 50% glucose. Now, fructose and galactose, those other simple sugars, they do eventually get converted to glucose in the body, but it takes time. The liver has to work on these and go through all the different reactions so that these can ultimately be converted to glucose. But because it takes a while, it's not going to carry your blood glucose levels up as quickly as pure glucose will. All right, so there solves the mystery. What to do? I mean, obviously we're going to always try to have our added sugar intake be no more than 6 teaspoons in a 24 hours. Every 1 teaspoon is 4 grams, so that is equal to 24 grams. So if you're depending on packaged foods, then you will look on your labels to look at the section that says added sugar and keep a running tally in your mind of the amount of added sugar, and you do not want that to exceed 24 grams in a 24-hour period, or like I said, 6 teaspoons in a 24-hour period, right? Where milk is concerned, I'm going to do a separate video about milk, because there are other factors that determine how quickly milk will actually increase your blood sugar, and so I'm going to do that in a separate video, which you can look out for. But in the grand scheme of things, many people are not going to be having enormous amounts of milk to have a massive impact on blood sugar, but still it is a contributing factor for those who might be a little concerned or confused about, maybe blood sugar going up after your morning cereal or oatmeal. You use milk, but you used maybe an artificial sweetener and you didn't expect your blood sugar level to go up high, and it did. Well, it's because of the sugar in the milk sugar and the glucose part of that, right? I hope you all found this explanation helpful. I hope you now understand why on earth things that don't taste sweet, especially lactose and starch, will carry up your blood sugar. It is because they will break down into glucose, which is what we measure to assess blood sugar levels and the control of conditions like type 2 diabetes and pre-diabetes. All right, stay tuned for other videos. Thanks for watching, and I wish you great health for 2024 and beyond. Bye.